It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast on Soonerscoop.com. We're here for another week as we get ready for the Tulsa Golden Hurricane coming up this weekend. The crew will be there. Eddie, Bob, and George be covering it this weekend. We've been out to practices. We've had press conferences. I'm just going to throw the elephant out there because I deserve it, and I hope the internet just assaults me. This is the third start to the podcast. I hit record once, then I didn't hit record, and now I've hit record. And let me just check because I will kill myself if we have to go fourth time. Yes, we're a minute into.
I don't think
podcast.
that you'd have to kill yourself.
No, just
there would be a homicide.
I deserve
within the Sooner Scoop offices. There would be yellow tape surrounding.
I would literally. I have plenty of sharp objects around here. I would just stick it into my neck, and then I would be done.
Well,
with
make
it.
sure that you have
and
the cameras rolling.
You wouldn't know how to run anything. Unfortunately, if I did that.
Make sure the cameras are rolling when you do that. We'll put it on YouTube.
Oh my God!
We'll just get the YouTube account
suspended.
Suspended right off the bat.
I should be suspended. Just suspend me for a week. Just.
No, we still want to get stuff done.
Do 100 burpees.
I'm sorry to you guys. The listeners don't know. They do now because I have to keep saying the same things I've said over and over. Eddie and George been killing the YouTube game. Go check them out, Soonerscoop.com/YouTube. All the shirts that you see on YouTube still available. The good thing about this weekend might be that, well, it's not a bad thing, but in the when it's a home game, we get a lot of visitors, and that makes it kind of difficult to get some things done some days. But I'll sell hundreds of dollars of merch to make life a little difficult getting ready for game day. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on out there. Post game pod's doing fantastic, by the way. I was looking at some numbers of that. I mean, you guys are just consuming the hell out of that thing. And that's been a lot of fun. The Eskridge Lexus post game podcast. We'll have another one, 2:30 kick. Let's get the. Eddie, how do you watch the game this weekend? Maybe we should do that in podcast.
How do you watch the game?
Like you love that
like
clickbait
the
story so much.
Clickbait story.
Well,
ESPN2.
I'm going to be there. It's on ESPN2 this week?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Turn on ESPN2.
That's the thing. We rarely concern ourselves with how to watch it during the weekend because it's usually
I
just like
usually look at the game notes and then I'd go, oh, okay. That's good. And then I'd never think about it. I think Brock Osweiler's on the call this weekend. Dave Fleming, who I think does a fantastic job on baseball. He's the voice of the Giants. So
okay. Oh, San Francisco Giants.
San Francisco Giants. Yeah, he's a Bay Area guy. He's a big Stanford fan.
By the way, what a night last night, man. I mean, we're here in the office, and I hear Eddie from the other room goes, Rodgers is hurt.
Oh, on Monday?
Or Monday night. I think to myself, like, who on OU's team's named Rodgers? Because, we're always in OU mode, and then I realized, oh, shit, the Jets are playing. Like
4 plays.
Like, how hurt is he?
Sucks.
And I didn't know that it was like really bad until I got in there and started watching it and saw he'd been carted off.
Yeah, you can hate the guy for everything that he does off the field, but
I don't hate him at all. I don't have any problem with what he does.
He's off the Packers. I don't have to hate him.
I enjoyed Hard Knocks. I only watched the first couple episodes. I do that every year where I watch the first couple episodes and then football actually gets here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really need to watch that. But it was it's sad, man. Like just the build up that came with Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets.
I mean, I was thinking about this today, like the fact that he orchestrated like who was going to be on that team before when he was still with the Packers, like Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb and like all that stuff that he went through to get there and gets there and it's over in 4 games.
In 4 plays.
4 plays.
4 plays. That's all it was. It sucks. But now one of my
did we have a discussion about Sam Bradford and all that? Was that us talking like worst starts for a quarterback in his season? Maybe I'm talking on so many shows and I'm listening to so many people talk. Like
I don't remember having that conversation.
Okay. But yeah, it reminded me of the Sam Bradford, the BYU game thing.
Oh, just like the season's basically over before it starts.
Exactly.
Yeah, that sucks. I am happy, though, because I am family friends with the Wilsons. I talked to his dad at an OU football camp a couple years ago. So
He's got Garrett Wilson too.
Yeah.
Good for you, Zach Wilson. That's going to be.
Where did his little brother end up at Utah?
I think he's a senior in high school.
Yeah,
this
he's
year,
a 2024 guy.
Yeah, he would have been a junior when he was coming in.
I believe he's committed.
Yes,
to Utah.
To Utah. He's going against the Family Grain.
I think that's right.
Or was it? No, I think Zach Wilson went against the Family Grain.
I think Zach did.
I think they're Utah people that he ended up in Provo.
That makes a lot more sense with all the mom stuff he's been through.
I think they're Mormon, but I think that his dad played at Utah.
Okay. Well, I mean, Utah just beating Baylor. I mean, Baylor 0-2 now. Do you watch, there's the SEC guy that's known, that production that, Kirk Herbstreit's on it at the end every time. You know what I'm talking about, Josh? The SEC shorts.
Oh, the SEC shorts. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the other guy that does it, though? He plays all the parts, but he's like the other schools, and he did the under 500 club this week, and it was pretty funny. You need to go on YouTube. I can't remember the guy's name, but Auburn was walking by and laughing at everybody. I thought that Arkansas and Florida and everything. So I thought that, and that wasn't that impressive of a win. I mean, Cal really gave them all they wanted. So
they had a shot in the end zone in the final play of the game.
But unfortunately, I hate to remind everybody of this, but we are living in a world where Texas is actually good at football, and I would say that this is the most concerned OU fans have ever been before OU Texas. After the win at Alabama. I mean, it's a crazy world to live in.
They went out and they whooped Alabama's ass
in the fourth quarter when it mattered most.
I think they whooped their ass in the first half. What were they up? 13-6 at halftime?
Yeah, I think in the third quarter is when Alabama looked like they might be able to. Well,
they tied it up, and then Texas struck right back, and all of a sudden, or they didn't tie it up, but they cut it to a 3-point game, I believe. 3 or 4. We were in the post-game press conference.
Either that or Quinn Ewers, he loves playing Alabama because he was really good before he got knocked out last year.
He played really well, and I don't know if you've taken in any of the Dan Orlovsky breakdown of what Sark did offensively, but
no, I haven't.
It was kind of a masterclass. They had a really, really good night, and OU's going to have a long way to go, and I think defensively, it's going to be kind of fun if they can continue to take steps here over the next 3 weeks. It should set up for what is a little bit of a showdown at the Cotton Bowl, just from a defense versus offense perspective. But I know that we kind of talked about this on the postgame pod that, Josh, for years and years and years, Oklahoma fans have been talking about getting a defense that is at least somewhat recognizable to what I think Oklahoma fans are used to defensively. And all anybody wants to talk about around here is what's not happening with OU offensively.
Yeah, and guys, for me, the thing I kind of come back to on that is Oklahoma, with their history and the talent that we all know is there on the offense. If I'm an OU fan, I feel much better about the offense being able to get on track and figuring out what's bothering it and whatever its problems are, especially when, you go through the Monday Morning Idiot. A lot of their problems were self-inflicted. They hurt themselves through
ineligible
personnel
receiver
decisions.
Downfield.
Yeah. Oh, my. The that video should be a GIF. Him, oh shit, realizing none of his friends are with him and he's all alone in the world. So trying to run back is just fantastic. But, again, and we talked about this on one of the previous recordings, Drake Stoops and Gavin Freeman both dropping a pass in the same game is not something I think you'll see again, this season or any other point in time. So that's, to me, just there were a lot of self-inflicted wounds that maybe weren't as obvious as some of the stuff. I mean, but I think this can be better. But again, if you tell me that if I'm an OU fan and you say, okay, the offense is going to start out a little slow and the defense is going to be strong, I would take that because I still believe the offense has all the right ingredients to be fine, to be good enough to win any game it plays in. The defense, you had those questions. I mean, if you had any brain in your head, you had the question. So now to kind of see, okay, maybe the defense is going to be at least serviceable, and then the offense can still can be what you wanted it to be in the preseason. That feels like a better recipe than people are acknowledging.
There's something I want to get to because we're going to get more to the defense and in all the tries that I've screwed up of this podcast today. We haven't mentioned the defense, so looking forward to kind of getting everybody's fresh perspective on the defense because it is the Enjoy Fresh Perspective look around. And I will say, Danny Stutzman said something yesterday in his interview session about being able to see a little guy hiding behind the line and knowing that something was up. So I think we need to get him LASIK if he doesn't already have it because we need him to see more of that, Eddie.
And we would take him to Enjoy Vision, which is the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City, and it's not even close. The combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care was life-changing for me. What they're doing for the U40 listener is they're giving $400 off if you're interested in LASIK. All you got to do is go to enjoywithme.com. That is the letter N, J-O-Y, withme.com. And use promo code U40. Doesn't that make sense? This is the U40, and all you got to do is use promo code U40 for $400 off LASIK. Enjoy Vision. This is where you LASIK.
So I don't want to make this a total defense thing, but I will say my one takeaway from the game, just after thinking about it, is, my God, they have someone leading their defense that can sniff things out. Like every trick play that SMU tried to run, Danny Stutzman was right there. And that
he was all over
little
the field.
Fumble-Rooski thing they tried doing, like Trace Ford was right there with him.
Yeah, and you know who the third guy was?
Can I?
Woody Washington.
Oh, was it Woody?
Three guys that have played a ton of college football.
Yeah. I mean, Josh, to me, that was the impressive thing. Like, okay, those guys are starting to get it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, guys. I was trying to pull it up here while you were talking, Kerry. I went back and looked because somebody was like, if this defense is what it's starting to look like, how does it compare to some of those 2000 groups? And somebody brought up 2008. I was like, well, I mean, you're talking about Gerald McCoy, Jeremy Beal. Like up front, it doesn't match up. There's just there's no way to spin that. But in the back, I was like, okay, there's some comparison there. I mean, you got Brian Jackson starting at one corner, Travis Lewis at linebacker. I mean, so I see that back seven's got a chance to be really good. And if they can get, Makari Vickers and Josiah Wagner and Gentry Williams comes back healthy, like, I know Brent talked about he was going to be good to go this week. If they can start developing that depth, I mean, it's not just, these guys are good players. There's a lot. They can cycle in bodies there that can make a lot of plays because, guys, Keyshawn Lawrence looked outstanding.
Yeah,
really I thought he had some really great moments. That the reverse that I know Eddie kind of referenced that, but Danny flattened out the back. He kind of kept him having to run laterally rather than being able to get upfield. But it was Keyshawn just closing from safety that was amazing.
I've never heard anybody call him Keyshawn. That struck me in a weird way.
Because he told us in his first year he prefers Key.
Yeah.
Yes. So take that, Josh.
All right. Well, we'll change it in the report card. All right.
Well, and then you add Peyton Bowen into the mix. I mean, he had the big play late in the game.
Let's just get into it. I mean, that's what's kind of interesting going into the Tulsa week with the injury to Justin Harrington. If you're able to get Deshaun McCullough back this week, what else are you going to do? Are you getting Peyton Bowen more involved at the cheetah position? I think it's pretty obvious that you want him on the field, just like the break on the ball that he made. When was the last time you've seen an Oklahoma safety bat down a ball diving through the air like that? That's one of those plays that they just haven't had.
They're usually not close enough to.
No.
They're trying to make up the ground to get the tackle as opposed to trying to make a play on the ball.
And you kind of saw that early from Billy Bowman. He had two of the most awkward-looking plays followed up by about 3 or 4 of those plays where you're just like, yep, that's Billy Bowman. That's why he's out there. That's why he's a difference maker. He just had a really strange day.
Yeah, I mean, he had that one looked like it was an interception going right to him. I don't know how he didn't catch it.
I trusted Billy. I thought he had that pick, and then the receiver just was in front of him. You're like, oh, man, he didn't see that coming at all. I thought Teddy Lehman brought up a good point. 10 years ago, that wide receiver just gets massacred. Like, that's just Billy Bowman just waiting to kill somebody. Yeah. So, like, you get it. But, guys, the thing, and I'm interested, and I'm trying to remember what the Cheetah depth chart looked like. We know it was Harrington, McCullough, and I know Bowen was third
Pearson.
or fourth, but was Reggie Pearson the other one?
And they had a lot of Pearson playing Cheetah when they needed to give Harrington a breather.
So you go
That's
Pearson,
exactly what I noticed as well, Bob.
Pearson down to Cheetah, and then that allows Key to get back out on the field a little bit more.
And I would say, you guys...
Between Bowen, Key, and Bowman, one of them is not going to be on the field.
Well, I mean, I don't think that they're going to flip Peyton over to Free. So.
Bob, you want to say something else?
Motherfucker.
But that's a good problem. You have guys that you can count on. You can, it's not just guys that people breathers. You actually think they can do things.
I agree with you, though. I want as much Peyton Bowen as humanly possible. And Ted Roof talked about it on Monday. No moment has been too big for him. He's responded to everything. Even the pass interference call, that was bullshit.
That was. I thought it was live. I saw that replay. That's not
awful.
He
didn't even touch him.
It's terrible.
No, it was bad. And the refs were like, "Oh, that's a good call." I was like, "Not the refs, the announcers on TV."
Yeah, Jaron Kanek, that's pass interference all day.
This is a good call. I'm like, no, it's not. That's a terrible call.
Yeah, he never turned him with his hand or anything. I mean, it was a terrible. Anyway, here's the important thing, and I think the thing that we have to stress is, and we talked about it last night, you guys have kind of been peeking, how he's looked at practice when you've gone out for interviews.
Yeah,
it doesn't appear that Justin Harrington's going to be able to play.
And I don't think that, I hope I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound like this is a thing that he's going to be back in a week. I'm not going to say he's out for the season or anything, but I think it's pretty bad.
Interesting.
I hope not.
Well, I mean, that just means that Deshaun McCullough's got to get healthy, and
because that would suck. I mean, it's a great story what Justin Harrington has been able to do over the first two games.
Played well, yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. I think that there is a big question mark though about his status and when he can get back onto the field, not just if.
Yeah, that's I go back. Because Brent Venables can be wordy. He can go on, but when we ask about Deshaun and Justin, very tight-lipped, one-sentence answers. Let's move on. I have nothing else to say.
One's banged up, and the other talking about Deshaun, hopeful. So but I will say, just from what we saw last night, it looked like Deshaun practiced yesterday, and I think that what you go back a week, and when they say it's not a high ankle sprain, he was suited up on Saturday. He just didn't go through pregame or anything like that. So I would be pretty surprised if Deshaun didn't play this week.
Which, they might have kept him out again if Harrington was healthy, but that's not.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. And the other thing is it's just weird because the Harrington injury. So I went back and looked today. He does not have that leg wrap on in the first quarter.
No.
By the start of the second quarter, he has the leg wrap on. So it happened at some point, and whatever injury he played with the entire game.
Made the interception.
Right.
So, that's going to be one of the big things to watch out for. I mean, obviously...
it's concerning.
I would say this. I felt like Josh, in this game, the pass rush was more effective. And, of course, Brent, sent more people and, did more things. I mean, seems like Stutzman and Kanek were blitzing about every other down. But even though they don't have the sack totals, Preston Stone was many times flush from the pocket, just trying to get rid of the ball. I was impressed kind of with Stone, just how mature he was as a guy that knew, okay, it's better just to throw this thing away instead of force it. But that happened a lot in that game.
I was more impressed with his decision-making than I was in the Louisiana Tech game. I thought in Louisiana Tech, he just took a couple shots. Almost to the point of you were kind of like what we're talking about with Dylan Gabriel, where there's this feeling of dude, you're going to have to take a couple shots. If you're going to beat this defense, you're going to have to take a couple chances and trust your receivers to make a play. Obviously Dylan Gabriel didn't have to do it as much as Preston Stone did because Oklahoma was going to put up some points. Now, I'll say the thing that I know because everybody knew all these names on the SMU offense, the Preston Stone, Jordan Hudson, obviously offensive line had a lot of, Power 5 transfers on it, that kind of stuff. I I think that the SMU offense was a little overrated coming in. I think people maybe expected a little more than was there. At the same time, I think SMU's defense was a little underrated. I think it's a better group than people are acknowledging. I thought their defensive line was one of the better G5 defensive lines I've seen come into Norman. Like, I thought they were a really good group and held up pretty well. And, some of that can be attributed to maybe Oklahoma didn't have their A game, whatever. But I liked Preston Stone's decision making. He didn't put SMU in bad situations. And Eddie, you talked about it earlier. That breakup at Peyton Bowen, there's a lot of guys, but that's a completed pass. Like, I'm not talking about just at OU. A lot of guys cannot make that play. They don't read it as fast as Peyton does and don't have the athleticism. But to kind of further your point, the back-to-back, Kenai doing it on third down and Peyton breaking it up on fourth down, when's the last time Oklahoma could say that? Like, they had DBs that, like, a ball didn't get dropped or a throw wasn't made. Like, it was just flat out two defensive backs made great plays.
It is positive news. And I think that, we've talked about this before, and they've talked about the competitive depth at the cornerback position, especially like to know that Kenai didn't even start the game. He comes in for Gentry Williams, who, is going to be fine. He came back into the game on Saturday, but it does seem that they have multiple bodies that they can throw out there. And, if you can get a Makari Vickers going, I did see Jaden Rowe yesterday. Looked like he was limping around. I don't know what the status is there, but I think George and I kind of, came to the conclusion just by the way he was walking. It looked like a little bit of a groin injury. But at the same time, you have to like what they've done on the back end. It's been really good. You kind of left wanting a little bit more from that defensive line group, and we'll see. I mean, it seems like they're creating pressure and they're moving the pocket. They just got to get home. And there was a couple times that I think it was Bothroyd came through the middle and Stone was able to evade him. Ethan Downs has the sack, but it's negated because of a face mask. Ethan Downs, he's had a pretty good year. I think there was a lot of people when he was on the preseason All Big 12 team that just went, yeah, well, he's probably not going to be playing much. But he's had a really nice year. And just talking to him yesterday, he's going to be a captain this week in Tulsa. He's gotten a lot bigger. Like his neck and shoulders are massive.
Josh is like, yeah, move him inside.
Don't move him inside. I was kind of under the impression he leaned out a little bit. Like that maybe he wasn't as I thought last year, because I think he was listed at like 263 or something last year. Like
he's put on better weight, yeah.
And I don't know if he just redistributed it or what, because I haven't seen him, so I'm gonna have to take Eddie's word on that. So I just watching the games, he seems like a little bit more like the guy I saw in high school, where he's really athletic, he can really run straight line. And again, Preston Stone's a good athlete, and he was closing down Preston Stone there in the fourth quarter. So, it's been a couple of really good games for him. And I think the guy I would say, I know I've been tough on Ethan. The guy that I was really gung-ho about coming into the year is I keep waiting for Bothroyd to have a moment, like something where he just really makes a play. And it's not that he's been bad by any stretch, but it's just kind of been like, okay, he's out there, he's playing good run defense, but I kind of thought he would make more impact behind the line of scrimmage.
He made a couple really nice plays, rush defense on Saturday. Bothroyd, the first play of the game that you highlighted, the first play in Monday Morning Idiot. That was a really nice play. Takes on a double team, stuffs the run. If you can say anything about this defense, and there are a lot of positives there, the way that they've defended the run so far through two games has been extremely good. And you would hope that that's kind of a base starting point for how good this defense could be.
Yeah, they've allowed 4 runs of more than 10 yards the entire season. I want to ask Josh, who are your interior guys at this point? Because I've seen 0 separation.
Lulu's been really good.
I think Jonah's the one that sticks out to me. I thought he was really good both weeks, honestly. But I thought against, like I said, a pretty game SMU offensive line. I thought he stood out. Terry would probably be my nose. He's just so stout there. There's not going to be anything flashy. It's not pretty. Isaiah Coe probably brings you a little bit more from a pass rushing perspective. I think he's a little twitchier. But I will say, guys, something, and I mentioned it in the idiot, and I don't know that it's gotten a lot of talk, but this package they're running on 3rd and longs where they're running out Grayson Halton and Jonah Lalu to basically be their pass rushers. And then, you've got Trace Ford standing up, or, they mix it a little bit more outside, but they clearly think Halton and Lalu are their best pass rushers on the interior.
Yeah, and I've been surprised that, Halton's been, down further on the depth chart and things like that, because I just thought that he's explosive-wise, he's one of the better young guys on that in that entire roster. So,
yeah, he's. I mean, if you were going to gamble on an interior lineman amongst the young guys, and I realize there's not many of them right now, but I mean, he's clearly the one that's flashed. And I would say, other than Jonah, he's had more flashy moments than anybody else on the roster. He'll make some plays that you're like, okay, I don't know that that's technically what he's asked to do. I think he just made a play beyond his position, kind of.
We want to get to some offensive stuff, but just rounding out defense. I think I like what I continue to see about Kenai Walker. I mean, after we talked to him last week, he's just like, man, how can you not root for that guy?
Yeah.
But he continues to be a bigger and bigger factor in things. And, of course, we saw Peyton Bowen special teams, the block where he wasn't supposed to be doing that, but he did it anyway, which I thought was awesome.
I like a 5-star that freelances a little bit.
and it works. I mean, that's the funny thing. Like, in the past, that kind of stuff wouldn't have worked. But,
sure.
No, I think overall you should feel good about the defense. I mean, Kevin Wilson's going to come with some crazy stuff this week, I think.
No doubt.
It'll give him a new kind of test. But
I'll tell you what, like as much as like I've loved what I've seen from a bunch of the starters, Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie. Oh, yeah. Like when you talk about just the future of the linebacker position, and you could even throw Jaron in there because he's still relatively a young player. That group could be. I mean, and I guess it should have. Like I say it surprisingly, but
we've seen enough misses.
After 2 years, after 2 years with Brent, though, it shouldn't be a surprise that group is coming along and looking like they could be very, very good eventually.
It was kind of funny Monday when Ted Roof came to the podium. I think that's the happiest I've ever seen him.
He should give everybody the middle finger.
He saw Barry Trammell. Yeah. He gets excited when he sees Barry. He's joking around with him.
He likes old people, I think. He doesn't like young people. He's given George a hard time. Not George, Eli.
Eli, Chapman, yes, yeah.
I think George is like, I don't think he likes me. I was like, well, that's because you're young.
Who does?
God. I know who does. It's the folks at Prime Shrimp. PrimeShrimp.com. Go check them out. Restaurant quality meals at home, which is important. I went to the fancy restaurant last night. I got some bao buns. You ever had those? Nobody?
I have no. What's the fancy restaurant?
No, fancy grocery store. I mean.
Oh.
It's like
don't know what you're talking about.
It's not like. It's kind of like. It's not a Whole Foods, but it's like a Sprouts.
What, Sprouts?
Yeah, Sprouts.
That's not.
Well, like everything's organic, and you feel like you're healthier just by shopping there. They don't really have like real chips or cereal or stuff like that.
Correct.
You can't shop. You can't shop for kids there, can you?
Brittany loves it. No.
I mean, you're so picky.
Because Bob has to pay $1 extra per item. That's why he doesn't like Sprouts.
Well, they charge you for your bags.
They do charge you for bags,
like 15 cents or something. But I got like bao buns. I was like, those have always interested me. And it was okay. I mean, I'd rather have. I mean, it was not restaurant quality, but like you get the Prime Shrimp, it's legit restaurant quality. You just boil some water, put the bag in there. It's fully seasoned. You can get whatever flavor you want, and right now you can use your promo code, which is U40, and you will get 25% off your entire order of $50 or more. But it's just shrimp made easy, man. New Orleans style barbecue, garlic herb butter shrimp, the French Quarter Alfredo, signature Cajun season. Just go to their website, check it out, see what you like. Make sure you get at least $50 worth of stuff. You're going to want to do that anyway if you like the shrimp, because you're going to eat that stuff fast. And you'll get 25% off using that promo code U40 and avoid those charges from DoorDash and Grubhub and all that stuff. Just enjoy that meal at home, healthy. and it'll taste fantastic. So primeshrimp.com, great sponsor of the podcast, and appreciate you guys supporting them. Okay, Bob, before we switch out and bring George in, let's kind of go over offense a little bit. I kind of said this on one of the Lost Pods. I did say this. I didn't kind of. You'll never be able to prove it, though, if I was right or wrong, based on the fact that they're no longer here. Anyway, to me, guys, the biggest issue is not so much who is running the ball, but who they're running the ball behind. The offensive line, to me, has to be better in order for this offense to be what I know every fan wants it to be, which is explosive, scoring 45 points a game. They just have to have more time for Dylan Gabriel in the pocket. They have to run the ball a little bit better. To me, until that gets solved, until Bill Bedenbaugh kind of gets his 5 in there, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, we had McCade use the term wake-up call. And so then I asked Walter Rouse, is it a silver lining that you can get a wake-up call this early in the season because you can fix it? And he was like, yeah, I can see where you're going, but we can't let the fact that we're playing Arkansas State or SMU dictate how our technique is. The effort's been fine, but we have to be at the top of our game every single time. We can't have a subpar effort like SMU. That makes us start playing with better technique. It needs to be there every single practice, every single game.
They have their starting 5, though, don't they?
Well, they did until Savion Byrd did what he did last week.
I mean, he got his ass pulled, but I would still suspect that he's going to be the starter at left guard. I guess that's the big question mark, is Troy Everett going to end up winning that job when it's all said and done? And then if he is, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like you went into the season, they had that starting 5. It was what the talk was, just hope that there was no injuries or anything like that. It never even crossed anybody's mind that, what if Savion goes out and he has a shitty night?
Josh, we've talked about Troy Everett in the Lost Pod and about him trying to learn this position. Based on what you saw, do you think he's got a future as a left guard?
It's not what you want your long-term answer to be. I mean, he's light for a center. As a guard, that's tricky. I mean, to me, he's a center all day. I think he can be a really good one based on some of the stuff he did at Appy State last year. But, they need, again, it's kind of like what we're talking about with Tawi Walker and some of the other conversations. If this team's going to be what it wants to be, they need Savion Byrd to be a guy. They need him to take that role, be the player he's capable of being. Again, and guys, one of the things that I thought was a hallmark of Savion Byrd is he's going to be physical, he's going to be violent, and he was not last week. Even before the penalty, I was like, what's happening? He was just kind of body bumping and shoving guys. I don't know.
Josh,
did his dog get run over? I can't. Something happened. He just looked off.
You guys remember? It might have even been Bob. You asking the question, but we talked to Mattia earlier in camp, during preseason camp, just about Savion Byrd, and he was basically I think then it was about getting his weight up and stuff like that. But he's he has to understand what it's like to play 13 games in a season. He doesn't know that yet. So I think it's almost like these guys that are the veterans that have been around, they know that he has some maturing to do, that he's not playing through the whistle, he's not playing as hard every snap as he needs to play, and I think that probably lesson learned, you would hope, after last week, after basically, and Eddie's turned it this way many times, it's the truth, you got benched. I mean, you're a guy that thought you were figuring things out, and now all of a sudden you're like, well, I guess I'm not figuring things out because they just benched my ass.
I mean, I don't know. That felt like. Now, I will say, when he came back in the game later, I thought it was better. I thought he really he was not perfect by any stretch, but much better. And I guess part of it for me is probably judging or trying to guess what Bill's thinking when he makes that decision to pull him out of the game. Some of it looked effort related. You can deal with a guy making mental mistakes that hadn't played enough ball yet, but he just looked like he was going through the motions, and that again, something you said earlier, Kerry. I mean, it was Olay. I mean, like, he made no real attempt at that block. That was just that was as soft as I've seen it, easy a sack as you'll ever get against
it almost
a line the caliber of Oklahoma.
Josh, it almost reminded you of the like when an offensive lineman is getting ready to pull or on a screen or something, and you're supposed to let the guy through.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, did he not know the play? Like, I'm asking, is that like a serious possibility as shitty as that was?
Maybe that was maybe that's connected to the Tyler Guyton not understanding that he was not running 5 yards downfield. I mean, maybe the offensive line were having trouble hearing that night. I don't know. It was, I can't remember which conversation we've had, but just all night they just looked so off. And I don't mean just the offensive line, like everything. The guys just, I don't know if I don't want to run into the old cliche of, they read their press clippings all week or, whatever the crap you want to say. But like
nobody was talking that highly of him, I promise you.
It didn't look focused. Like, it didn't look good, and I don't know why.
Well, and it's a problem because it's the foundation of your offense. It's how long Dylan Gabriel can be back in the pocket and let Andrell Anthony get 20, 30, 40 yards downfield. And, I mean, that's the thing. It's like when you can get Jalil Farouk and you can get Andrell Anthony and you can get Gavin Freeman and Drake Stoops, like, those are your best weapons. You have to be able to use them. And when you don't have that protection and you're left to try and run the ball, we don't know how good Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk are going to be. We think pretty good. We know kind of what they've got in Marcus Major. We know kind of what Tawi Walker is. They all have a little bit of a ceiling. And that was my point, again, to the Lost Pods. Like, you cannot have an offense that the main feature of that offense is Tawi Walker. I mean, he needs to be a part of it, and he's a good player. I'm not trying to shit on him. And I'm sorry if anybody thinks I am. But that's not going to score you 40, 50 points a game, just making your offense about Tawi Walker. It has to be about getting the ball over the top, getting it to Jalil Farouk, in space, getting it to Gavin Freeman in space, getting Andrell Anthony behind a secondary. Like, that's how you score all the points. So they've got to start working towards that, and they can't work towards that if the offensive line can't give enough protection.
Now, Kerry, I want to make sure. Are you saying it more from a perspective of OU isn't confident that they have that, or that they didn't do it? Because in the game,
I just don't think they did it.
They didn't do it. No, they didn't do it.
There's not. I mean, like, I'd have to.
And I'm saying that's on Jeff Lebby. I'm saying that's on Jeff Lebby, is what I'm saying. I mean, your offensive game plan and what you tried to do. How many shots did they try and take?
None, but I don't think it had anything to do with. I don't think it had anything to do with pressure. They just didn't throw the ball downfield.
Same.
Because I think they thought that they couldn't protect Gabriel long enough.
I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm trying to see is if you think it's about what OU perceives it as or what happened. Because what happened, I didn't feel like Dylan Gabriel was under a bunch of pressure.
No, but I mean, he also
weak.
Didn't have to stand back there in the pocket very many times because he didn't take any of those shots.
That's fair. Sure, you're right.
And how much of that is just being conservative, play calling wise? I mean, I
don't know why you would have been.
Why?
I mean,
yes, thank you.
The coaches seem to understand that this was a pretty big challenge facing SMU.
Yeah, I think that those questions are valid in terms of play calling, but
I mean, if you went out there saying, we believe in our defense, we're going to let them win, everyone should be fired. They should all be fired if that was the approach that they planned on having all week.
It just seemed like they raced out to the I guess not even raced out, but you build a 14-3 lead, and then all of a sudden you're driving, and you don't get the 4th and 1. That was in the third quarter, though. Yep. I mean, I don't know how that explains what happened in the second quarter. I mean, was it just drops?
I think part of the confidence that I lose is seeing the way that they use Jackson Arnold. I didn't understand. I don't understand why you take the ball out of Tawi Walker's hands in short yardage.
Now that I
give it to Jackson Arnold.
I do think, though, that they want to get him involved in the offense somehow. I think that they've kind of...
That's great. Have a good offense, score 40, and let him come in the second half.
I think it's a little bit different than that.
And there's going to be that time when he fakes the run and passes, and it's gonna be a touchdown.
Maybe it builds off of a lot of stuff. I have way farther bigger problems with the running back rotation than I do anything on the offensive line.
Yeah, I
need a home run hitter.
I can get with that.
They need Javonte Barnes. They need Gavin Sawchuk to be bigger parts. Jeff Lebby said they're going to be, but you can say that, and as I was reminded from a bunch of people on Twitter, you have to be on the field to get him the ball.
Well, we're turning into conspiracy theorists in the office. I mean, we're trying to figure out
there's nothing else
make
that
any
makes
sense.
You're trying to rationalize it exactly.
Is he trying to And believe me, this is I feel like a YouTube commenter when I say this, but is he trying to save him for the grind of the Big 12 or save them for the grind of the Big 12?
Which is funny.
Sawchuk was beat up during spring, and
because
Barnes has been beaten up before.
If you remember, Brent was asked about saving Billy Bowman on kickoff. He's like, "We went 6-7. We can't save anybody. We need to go out and win." But that's the only possible logical thought you could have is that, all right, these guys, they weren't 100%. They're 90%, but they haven't been 100. We're going to save them.
There's one other logical thought, which is it's DeMarco Murray being a hard ass because he doesn't like the way they're practiced leading up to games.
Oh, I think that there's a lot of that. And not to say that they haven't been practicing well, but this is 100% a DeMarco decision. I don't think that Jeff Lebby's radioing down to the box or down to the sideline and saying, get such and such in. I mean, DeMarco's the one that controls all that. He's the guy that sends guys in and out.
Yeah, but there's something
and there. Maybe it has something to do with the packages that they're running. I really don't know. You need to get number 2 and number 27 on the field more.
If it goes about the same against Tulsa,
then the
post game you have to ask Lebby about who's making the decisions, why they're making them. Do you have an override?
100%.
I've been in that position before. I mean, it happened with DeMarco and Chris Brown back in the day with Cale Gundy. I drove me insane. I remember being at Iowa State. I almost lost my mind because DeMarco Murray was just fine and available, and they would not play Chris Brown. And I think that was probably, Josh, when I was running my only Twitter account was the Sooner Scoop account, and I was just using that to lob complaints directly to Cale Gundy.
I think, no, that would have predated. I don't even think Twitter existed then.
That would have been 07. Yeah, well, we might not have had a Twitter account then.
Yeah, but I do remember you were livid at that scenario. I remember that being an issue. Guys, you talk about personnel decisions. Austin Stogner having as many snaps as any wide receiver on that roster baffles me.
I hate to say it, but
go watch a few of the idiots. His blocking is horrific in that game. I mean, horrible.
I hate to say it, but he's gotten worse. From when he was a freshman. And, it was tough because he had that staph infection. He missed a whole year and he got tiny. It's almost like he just stopped being a football player at that point. I don't get it.
Blake Smith's OU's best tight end. I fully believe that.
I mean,
and I don't think Blake Smith
who is if he's not.
Well, I want to see more of Caleb, I guess, but he's been banged up.
Who?
Caleb. McIntyre. Cade McIntyre.
Oh,
Cade McIntyre.
And he was back on the practice field on Tuesday night. He has a big. It kind of looks badass. He has one of those massive clubs like Blake wore during the spring game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, broke his hand in the Arkansas State game.
You said you thought that.
Does Llewellyn just suck? Also, I'm here on Monday.
Hi, George. How are you?
Good.
Hi, George.
Does Llewellyn just suck? Or what's the... He hasn't
We've
even
asked
played.
about him a million times, and no one ever provides any kind of a reasonable answer about... He might just suck.
I thought he was a good player, but expecting him to be ready to... I thought at best he was one of those guys that comes in his 3rd or 4th year on campus. He had 25 catches last year. He had a pretty nice, a nice little... junior, senior player, but expecting him to make an impact this year, I don't think is very realistic.
I just don't. I mean, fair, Josh. I've seen enough of Austin Stogner. Put somebody else in the damn game, or do some different personnel. Play. Where the hell's Jaden Gibson? I mean, he was Or how about Jaquez Petaway leads him in receptions, and he's not even in the game.
There's so many editions of this pod that I can't remember. Have we talked about?
No, we haven't talked about the receiver rotation. The wide receiver.
That doesn't make any sense. If you want to say that they didn't want to take Drake Stoops off the field, and that explains Jaquez Petaway, I get it. You don't get any argument from me. But from what you saw with Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson in game number 1, and maybe this has a little bit more to do with blocking and just not being able to move the ball in general in the second and third quarter, take a tight end off the field. You don't have to have 2 of them out there every time.
But see, Josh, was that not an indication of how they felt about their pass, protection, having 2 tights out there, or their ability to run the ball?
But but again, watch Stogner. The fact that they watched the same tape I did, and Austin Stogner's a captain this week, I don't get that. I don't know what that means. There's no reason this team should ever be in 12 personnel ever. And I maybe ever strong, maybe at the goal line, maybe just to have another big body in there. But honestly, if I'm going to do that, I'd rather bring in Caden Green and let him be the next tackle, and we're going to go double tackle left or right or whatever you want to do. I don't understand it. And guys, I was just looking at PFF. It has Nick Anderson with 17 plays on Saturday. Do you remember?
I don't remember him being on the field, let alone playing 7. How many offensive snaps did they play on Saturday? OU.
77.
77.
God damn. Did they really?
That means like he was on the field almost a quarter of the game.
That's crazy. Also, while we're talking about snap counts, I know you guys already went over running backs, but Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk have combined for 35 snaps this year. Marcus Major and Tawi Walker have combined for 111. So it's not even close. Yeah.
I mean, I get the Sawchuk stuff. He's been hurt. They're wanting to ease him back in. The Javonte Barnes stuff, it really doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know how to explain it.
I think the bigger question here, to kind of wrap it back to wide receivers, they're just not putting their playmakers in the game, it seems. And not to say that Andrew Anthony and Jalil Farouk aren't playmakers, but you can't convince me that Nick Anderson and Jaden Gibson and Jaquez Petaway don't have, arguably higher ceilings than all of those guys.
Not Jalil.
I don't know. I like Jalil a lot, but I think
Jaden Gibson is tall. That's what he does. And until last week.
I do too. I'm just saying that
you're just digging in, is what you're doing.
I am. Yes, I am. But I just think
Did you not see him catch the ball?
It's a great play.
Dodge a defender, shake another one, break a tackle, score a touchdown.
My point is they have more.
People.
They have more guys, and I just say that they. And it's not. I'm not saying take Jalil Farouk out, but what if they
thrown one touchdown to Jalil Farouk? And just the stuff that he wasn't here last year, so you don't know. I'm pulling Bob right now.
You got to talk over him.
It's hard to talk over Kerry. All I'm saying is Jaden Gibson had 6 snaps. It should increase. And I'm not saying take Jalil Farouk out, but imagine if they put in a Jaden Gibson, Nick Anderson, Jalil Farouk, Andrew Anthony lineup in a 4 wide. That's a pretty damn good group. You can do multiple
things. We're talking the same language here. If you're starting to talk about 4 and 5 wides.
Oh, 100%. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying take Jalil Farouk out of the game at all.
It's become personal with me and you and Jalil Farouk. I've already lost the Tawi Walker battle, so
you have, and you might lose the Farouk one.
I feel pretty good about your side in this. I like Farouk. I think Farouk does things that I think simply put the other guys can't do.
But why isn't he getting the ball more? I don't understand.
We're asking that about everyone.
I know. I'm not talking about
Gavin
you. I'm
Freeman.
And I wrote about this in the story. In my game story is Jeff Lebby needs to be more creative. Well, and I hate to bring this person up because everybody doesn't like him, but Lincoln Riley was so good at finding ways to use his personnel. Think back with
Lincoln
Lee
Riley
Morris.
Was amazing.
They didn't have a tight end. What'd they do? They put Lee Morris in the slot. They did a lot of different things. They didn't do as many tight end sets. Jeff Lebby has to adjust to the personnel they have. They have great playmakers at wide receiver and running back, and for some reason they're not in the damn game, but Austin Stogner is getting 60 snaps. It makes no sense.
You know what's odd to me, Josh, is that guy that was on the field that shouldn't have been after the game? He didn't have tight end.
James Hill? I didn't know who you were talking about. I didn't know who you were talking about.
No, Art Briles didn't use tight ends at Baylor. Very, very. I mean, he had some, but they were not a big part of what he did offensively. And look, I know they've got Devon Mitchell. They've got to show that they use tight ends. They can't just disappear. But the overuse is just, and we've kind of talked about this, but yeah, I mean, I'm with you, George. I'm Josh. I just wanted to throw that out there because I thought it was ironic.
No, and guys, honestly, my bigger issue is, okay, if you're going to go into that game and your plan is to do one thing, but as you see what SMU's doing to you defensively, okay, we're going to run a lot of quick slants, a lot of comebacks, stuff like that okay, fine. Why at that point doesn't Jaquez Petaway and Jalil Farouk become a big part of what you're doing? Because those are great run after the catch guys. Like that is their game. And instead of running slants to Andrell Anthony, who's a vertical guy,
and a lot of behind,
just personnel.
A lot of stuff out to the flats to Andrell Anthony. And I know they were probably playing the pump and go game, hoping to establish that. But you're right. Jaquez Petaway should be that guy. I mean, Gavin Freeman should be that guy. I mean,
yeah, Freeman's another
Jalil
perfect
Farouk
example.
should be
Absolutely.
that guy over him.
Yeah, guys, I mean, Farouk on that run, you're like, that dude's getting out some anger. That looked like, get me the damn ball. Like that. I mean, and not that he said that or anything, but like that looked like a guy that was like, I'm going to make everything I can out of this small opportunity.
It was an impressive run. It really was.
It was. It really was.
Look, by the way, want to remind you, Dead Soxy, they're out there for you. Hopefully you got to take advantage of the score sale that happened after the Arkansas State game. But even if you didn't, they're still there for you with 25% off. Just use that promo code SCOOP. Looking at the no-show packs right now. But yeah, just a lot of great different socks. If you looking for something for game days, they've got the colorways, the different the crimson packs. I know I saw some people tweeting at us that they had their new Maker Bayfields and all that, and so go check them out. They've got a lot of new colorways out there for you to choose from. So if you've gotten them in the past and you got them and you think, oh, I got my game day socks, well, they got even more now. So a lot of really cool combinations. You can get up to 4 packs of different varieties. But yeah, I'm looking at them now. Some of the new ones are just awesome. The crimson white casual socks 4-pack for $67.95. Those are really, really cool. But the crimson Mari dress socks, I really like those. So just go check them out. Deadsoxy.com, DEADSOXY. Use that promo code SCOOP and you'll get 25% off your entire order from Dead Soxy. And as always, stay Soxy. Okay, so I think we've kind of broken down most of what we didn't like or what we're hoping to see. And we've got some recruiting, Josh. I know we haven't done any YouTubes recently on recruiting, but you've got a decision coming for Danny Okoye. You've had some visits here and there. Let's just kind of go over, we did the Nigel Smith YouTube video, and appreciate everybody checking that one out because that got a lot of views as well. But I guess just pick up after Nigel Smith, Josh, and kind of tell us the latest, what's going on with recruiting.
Yeah, you had Oklahoma, obviously, with a visit weekend last weekend, and I think probably the two most notable stories to come out of that were two teammates, 2026 guys. Legend Bay, a quarterback athlete from Mesquite Horn. He'd been in the Frisco ISD and then has transferred into Mesquite Horn, where they already had Lamont Rogers, the 2025 offensive tackle that's a big-time target for Oklahoma. He was on campus as well. And then Markel Ford, a safety, same program at Horn, Oklahoma has a lot of connections to that staff. There is I know a lot of times OU fans, and rightly, feel like, when they're recruiting in Texas, they got to recruit against a bunch of UT fans on the coaching staff. I am sure there are some there at Horn, but I can tell you there is plenty of Oklahoma representation that are always eager to take those guys up to Norman if they want to ride, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, talking to Lamont, like I said, 2025 offensive tackle, top 50-ish guy in the country, big time talent. Love the visit. Said he mentioned getting to talk to Curtis Lofton a lot during his trip, and really, that conversation seemed to kind of resonate with him. And the others, I mean, I don't think that really, those are the two offers that have went out over the weekend. A guy like Christian Thatcher, the linebacker from Las Vegas that we talked about last week that was coming in, loved his visit. He is a guy I've had a prediction in for a while, for Oklahoma to land him eventually, another 2025 guy. And I think that is going to happen. It's just a matter of kind of when and not if with him. Really loves the idea of playing in the SEC, loves the connection he's built with Brent Venables and Ted Roof and the whole staff. So, again, it wasn't a super newsy weekend, not a lot of fireworks. The only official visitor was Josh Iasosa, the offensive lineman from Edmond Santa Fe that came in. But I think Oklahoma kind of continued to move forward, and I'm kind of working. I haven't had a chance to finish Woke yet, but when you look at it, I think you're starting to see Oklahoma more and more shift toward 2025 and 2026, because with 22 commitments in the class of 2024, there's, 4 or 5 spots maybe at most available. I mean, now, the right guys, sure, they're going to make extra room, but I've kind of been working to the assumption of like 26, 27 for this class. And, with guys like Grant Brick set to the side, Eddie Pierre-Louis, Daniel Akinkunmi. They've got 3 in offensive linemen right there. So the numbers are getting pretty tight, and Oklahoma's having to make some decisions. So I think you're starting to see them pivot a little bit towards the juniors and sophomores.
I know the Bricks kid's coming up with the decision soon. What's the latest there with him? The big offensive lineman out of Iowa, right?
Yeah, from Iowa, but lives kind of on that border there. So he's only about an hour and a half from Lincoln, as I understand it. It really does feel like it's coming down to Nebraska, Kansas State, and Oklahoma. Now, what's interesting is when you talk to people, Oklahoma seems to think it's it's Oklahoma and Nebraska. Nebraska kind of thinks the same. Meanwhile, Kansas State seems to think, it's kind of all 3. So I don't know what to make of that exactly, but I've had the impression for a while this is kind of a heart versus head situation. He's a kid that wants to stay close to home. That's a big part of the conversation. Nebraska is easily the choice if that's the case. I don't think it's hurt Oklahoma that Nebraska has come out and looked just like absolute garbage offensively through the first 2 weeks. That can't be bad news as he looks at it. For Oklahoma's part, he loves Bill Bedenbaugh. He loves Jerry Schmidt. He sees that as a good fit for him with what he needs to do from, not just offensive line development, but physical development, because, this isn't a kid playing just in Iowa. He's playing small school ball in Iowa. So there's a lot of maturation that's going to have to happen. But I again, gun to my head, I pick Oklahoma, but I don't think any of the choices would be very surprising. But I think Kansas State's probably the least likely of the 3 at this point.
There is an announcement coming up next week with Danny Okoye. Still feeling pretty good about Oklahoma and where they are positioned right now for him. Or, I think if you wanted to read the tweets from over the weekend, did the Texas performance down in Tuscaloosa do anything?
I think it's interesting that in spite of that, and again, hard not to be impressed with what Texas did. Danny was planning to go down there this weekend. That was initially the plan. He's not going to any knowledge of mine. And I know our guy Jerry Hamilton inside Texas, he's got a prediction in for Oklahoma just like I and Sam Spiegelman do. So I don't think there's any movement there. And I know talking to Jerry last week, there was definitely a feeling of if he and his mother didn't show up in Austin, it's pretty hard to believe that they were going to be the choice. There's been a lot of talk of Tennessee through the months, but again, he hasn't been there in a while. So, Oklahoma, I think, has been like 3 of his last 4 visits or something along those lines. And I know he's talked about coming back down. He was talking about coming back down last weekend following his official visit on the Arkansas State weekend. So, I tell you guys all the time when you'll ask me something, it's Danny Okoye. I'm not going to count anything until it comes out of his mouth, but at the same time, I still think Oklahoma's in a really good spot. I think Oklahoma's checked all the boxes he needs to. And the fact that this has all come on so fast following that Oklahoma official visit, usually that's a pretty good indicator of what's happening.
Eddie, I feel kind of like, now that we've got the YouTube stuff going, it's like anytime it's like the Nigel Smith thing. It's like people know that we do a lot of video stuff. They're like, are you going to stream it? How do I watch it? Like, Okoye is, he's got it planned stream, right, to announce it on the 20th? Or is that?
I don't know if there's a planned stream. I don't know if he's announced anything like that, but it's just Instagram he's announced where he's going to be.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah, he's saying, yeah.
Is it like an Instagram live or is like?
That's what he says. He says it will also be live on Instagram. So, I can retweet that out. But yeah, I mean, for those, maybe even that, I feel like we've talked about all three schools. Announced the final three of Texas, Tennessee, and Oklahoma, and is going to announce a week from today on Wednesday the 20th at 6:30. Obviously, being a homeschool guy, it's not going to be at his school. He's picked out something called Core Society. I don't know what that is. In Bixby, America. So Bixby getting to claim yet another big-time football player. That's just what Bixby does right now.
I love Bixby.
You do?
Not really, no. I hated playing them.
Because they beat your ass?
In basketball. We never played them in football, but they beat us in basketball.
Do you feel it would have gone well in football?
No. Bishop Kelly. I will say, though, Bishop Kelly beat Bishop McGinnis this week, so shout out.
Oh, some
also Owen Heineke. Owen Heineke, my boy Owen Heineke got a tackle on the kickoff this last week against SMU. Shout out Bishop Kelly.
This Bishop Kelly segment has been brought to you by what parishes?
How many? Just remind me how many Putnam City kids are on the team.
Are we going to start having Bishop? Are we going to start having Bishop?
We have one
Kelly?
Heisman Trophy. That's on every team though.
Are we going to start having Bishop Kelly commercials like Gabe Eichert has McGinnis commercials?
I don't know. I could probably work on that if we want it. Speaking of which, have we done the?
We do have three Catholics. Me, you, and Bob.
Did we do the other ad read?
Yes.
Yeah.
The other one with the eyes?
We have what? Yeah.
I missed that. I totally missed that.
Yeah, we did
early.
That.
Yeah.
Okay. We did it early.
I thought you were trying to sneak in a quick trip on me or something.
Oh no.
By the way, the quick trip wanted to come by the office, and I told her we'd be here, but other things happened, so I'm sorry, Joseph. I screwed you. I screwed you out of coming to the office. Oh, boy. So, Josh, anything else that you wanted to throw out there recruiting-wise that people should keep an eye on?
I'm sure there's something I'm going to forget. But no, like I said, nothing immediately comes to mind. I think you are looking, like I said, the most immediate decisions in 2024, obviously Danny, who we've already talked about, and then Daniel Akinkumi, he is set for October 12th. So a few more weeks out. I think in that interim, you're going to see Grant Bricks make a decision. It's just kind of one of those things. I'm, talking to sources. He kind of keeps okay, I need one more week. I need one more week. Because he was going to do this in the summer and then before his season. And, it just kind of drags out forever. But like I said, I think you could see Oklahoma land 3 pretty highly rated commitments in the next month. I wouldn't be tremendously surprised about that.
You think people are worried about Deion Sanders coming in and poaching recruits?
I mean, I think that there is starting to become a reality, Josh, that this thing's going to have to be taken a little bit more seriously than maybe a lot of people thought it was, myself included.
The Colorado thing, you mean?
Yeah, just like the entire thing. And especially with the quarterback that's now interested.
If they're not worried, they're nuts. I mean, you're especially for programs that recruit the Dallas area and all that the connections Deion has down there and how revered he is from, the prep ranks on. That is a legitimate concern. And like you said, guys, I mean, I've heard several people say it and they're right. There was no doubt with Sean Lewis as their offensive coordinator and having, Shadur and Travis Hunter and the Weaver kid, you knew, okay, like they're going to move the ball. They're going to have some success. The thing that I marvel at, they look disciplined. Like they're not screwing up. They're not making, they are playing good football.
And they're physical.
And I heard someone kind of say it the other day that that's the misconception about Deion is he's very flashy and has his own production thing, and doesn't really need, and does a lot of like YouTube video and viral work and that kind of stuff. But he's kind of old school in the way
he's
he
very
sees
old
things,
school,
the way he approaches stuff.
No, there's no doubt.
I just think that's interesting.
You just watch the interviews, like I watched one he did with Joe Klatt and some of the other ones, but that's the vibe he gives off. Like, he gets you in the door with all the flash, but then once you're there, you might as well be coached by Pat Jones. I mean, it's like he is super old school, and you can tell he wants things done. Like, he grew up in a very disciplined football environment, you could tell, and that's what he believes in.
I wonder if he'd ever go to the NFL.
Dion?
Yeah.
I don't know, but
he will go to a higher paying college job. I
wish that I wish that I remembered who threw this out there. Maybe Andy Staples. I can't remember who it was. It was in the last couple of days. I know a school that has no problem just throwing money at people.
Texas A&M.
Yes. Deion Sanders down in College Station, buy out Jimbo.
And bring in Deion.
It's crazy, but if there's a school that would do it and immediately react to what he's doing in Boulder through, what would be 12, 13 games.
And it also, lifts that whole ag perception. If you have Deion there, you have no problem with, you might have to take a statue or two down, but to get him. But they might do that.
And here, the other side of this, too, is as much as I don't believe in what Deion was going to do, I'm starting to believe that you have to take it a little bit more seriously. He ain't staying in Boulder very long.
No.
As much as Colorado fans want him to stay around, it's been proven this is a stepping stone.
How many years of eligibility does Shedeur have left?
I believe he is a junior.
I think he'll go to the draft this year, though.
I mean, he's so much better than
Travis
I thought
Hunter,
he was.
Because Travis Hunter can't follow him either.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's true.
So Shedeur's listed as a junior. Okay. So,
and that's the problem with the transfer portal now is like he can bring people in, but they can't leave. It's not instant transfer anywhere you want anymore.
And
North Carolina had to pay the price
interesting.
to get that back going.
And I think it'll tell you next year if he spends a lot of time in the portal and it has a heavy senior presence in his portal, that'll tell you exactly what he's thinking. Like, we're going to do this. We're going to run these guys out for 1 year, and then I'm making no promises beyond that. Because his recruiting impact has not been what I thought it was going to be. Like, he got a few early commitments, and then it's been okay, not special. I mean, the quarterback he's got committed is like a 3-star kid from the Midwest. And I mean, that's fine. But it's just, I kind of thought there would be bigger waves than that. And I wonder if it's because of this very reason. Now, at the same time, I guess those kids could come in and then follow him wherever he goes. But yeah, Travis Hunter and Shedeur, they're locked into Colorado. So I don't see him doing that.
Yeah, if they're high school kids, they can leave any time. But transfers, they're stuck there.
Yep. And that's all those kids. And I mean, he's got to do what's best for him, but he realizes obviously Shedeur is his son and Shiloh as well, who transferred in as well. But with Travis, like, he knows how important Travis is to his legacy and what he's kind of building. I just don't think he can mess around there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait to crown him, though. I mean, TCU, I think, kind of fumbled the bag. I think people would be talking a little bit differently about him if they were 1-1 right now. They beat a bad Nebraska team, like the Jeff Sims kid.
He's bad.
God bless him.
He's. I mean, like, Jeff Sims is like what. It's so hard to explain, but he's a negative. Like, you're better off just not playing a quarterback. Like, you were better off. Nebraska was better off running OU's Texas game plan last year than they were in having. Like, if you want to know how bad it could go with Davis Beville, that's probably about as bad, if not worse.
I might trust Beville with the ball more than I do Jeff Sims.
Yes.
Now, throwing it and, like, making the offense move, that might be a little bit of a different question.
Yeah, well, because, I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, why are you trying to make him something he's not? Like, run a bunch of option, run a bunch of zone read stuff. Like you're not throwing this ball, Jeff. You're just, I mean, If a guy has 20 yards of space, maybe we'll let you let it fly. But other than that, no way. Like I said, I think Colorado's pretty good. I think this idea they're going to play with Oregon is madness. I think Oregon is just going to batter them up front because that Colorado offensive line is not good. It's just not.
I can't even remember. It was such a blur. Did Oregon beat Texas Tech, right?
Yeah, they came back and beat it. Not only did they come back and beat them, they came back and covered, which is one of the most god-awful backdoor covers by Oregon in the history of the game. I feel bad.
What kind of parlay did you have?
I didn't have them, thank God, but I almost did. And that would have been bad. You guys would have already known about it.
To connect it to Oklahoma, my only concern, and I'm a huge Matt Rule guy. I absolutely thought he would have been a great hire for Oklahoma. His offensive coordinator hire scares me just a little bit because that's the same guy that Spencer Rattler couldn't get anything going with last year. And then the second he was gone, Spencer Rattler starts playing football. And I'm just like, because I know there's a lot of people that do the advanced metrics that think Satterfield's just garbage. So I don't know.
Did he not hire Grimes at Baylor? Did he come in with Aranda?
Yeah, Grimes is an Aranda guy.
I like Grimes a lot. I think he's.
I do
really
too. I love his offense.
Yeah. No, but yeah, Satterfield. You're right. He's one of those guys he keeps moving around and bouncing around, and you're just like, if your team catches him, you're like, okay, I get why this guy bounces around so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of almost Bo Pelini-ish there at some point where you're like, ooh, okay, the name was
Nebraska was a lot better with Bo Pelini. Let's not throw him under the bus.
Fair. No, I just mean from Bo Pelini for a while was like that hot DC name, and then he kind of kept getting places, and people were like, oh, it's not as good as I thought it was.
Yeah. All right, I think that's going to do it.
Real quick, I know that you weren't here when we were talking about Harrington. On a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you?
9.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Worried about what? Loss for the season or not playing this Saturday?
Both.
9 on both.
I don't think it's good.
He's not playing Saturday.
I could be totally wrong.
I hope we're wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't seem good. The rap he had on at practice is not a good sign.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for this week. Tulsa coming up this weekend. Don't forget, check out the YouTube page, youtube.com/Soonerscoop. George and Eddie will have the game day preview coming up tomorrow. Probably get that posted mid-afternoon to early evening, somewhere around there. And then we promise we're going to get Josh more involved on the recruiting stuff. We're continuing to work on figuring out all the details on that one.
Maybe we need to have a Journalism 101 course, too, on YouTube.
You just like getting hate, don't you?
I do. Bring it on. I can take it.
He's recovered. He was beat down. He was beat down on Tuesday.
I wasn't beat down. I was just like, these people are morons.
You have to go through that, and then you're like, I can't be impacted.
Now you're talking about these people, not like our people, not like everyone listening to this podcast.
No.
I want to be clear.
Yeah. It's a very small people that are just. You mean it's like Eddie said the other day, we were at practice, and he's like, people aren't even reading what's being put out there. They just want to be mad.
Yeah.
And it's those people that are the morons.
They're kind of fun people.
Yeah, no,
I like them.
Yeah, it's after you look back at it after a day, you're like, yeah, that was kind of.
There's been some stuff where it's just like blatant, like, my God, I can't believe this person exists, and most
YouTube comments.
Most of the time, when those hey, they're getting really good. We're getting bigger. Most of the time, those people are like, this is a fake person. Like, no one can be this way. There was a dude in the middle of all that Art Briles stuff. I was like, this is just an awful human being. Like, he's just terrible. Like, that doesn't happen very often. I'm not talking like, what's the Ronnie Crimson Ronnie? Like, he's a fake person.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, I haven't even blocked him. So that's going to do it. George, keep fighting the good fight.
I muted over 100 people on Twitter this week.
So if George never responds to you, that means that he hates you.
Correct.
Oh, my God. Well, I always say this. Everybody's got to handle social media the way that they handle it because
I hate the listeners. I hate you, the people that are out there right now.
God damn.
Don't subscribe to the YouTube show either. I'm just kidding.
What are you
not at YouTube?
You think people are going to take my advice?
I think this means more people will.
There are still people that can't figure out horns up for peace, and you're doing that.
Oh man,
those are part of the. Those are my QAnon people.
See,
I love
Bob
them.
is over in the corner like, you guys don't know what you're doing. Like, there's a reason I'm gaining on followers on everybody.
Hey, my followers went up this week, despite all the.
I don't think anybody's catching me, so we're good. I feel pretty comfortable.
Wow. My God.
If you add some of yours together, you might. If you add them together, some of you might, but not catching me.
Eddie's in rare form.
We'll talk to you next week.
All right, we will talk to you next week. Thank you. They can't hear you, Bob. We'll talk to you next week. We'll be back after the Tulsa game. Get ready for Big 12 conference play. Thanks. Man, there's a fight now. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next time on the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com.